One thing I learned from Yogananda and from my mother is that uh, this concept of the guru, right? And, you know, however you want to romanticize it or depict it, ultimately there is this idea, right? I had this extreme connection to divine from a very early age from birth. I just had this huge love and desire to become closer to God. I didn't know exactly what enlightenment was or what that meant or, what that encompassed. I just knew that enlightenment had to do with being close to God, and that's what I wanted because I had these incredible experiences of going into trance, going into samadhi, these experiences of enlightenment from an early age. So I didn't have a context and nobody talked about these things. So I didn't know exactly what they were. They just seemed like this is normal, this is life, this ecstasy I feel, this bliss, this love. And so I knew it was coming from God, though. I knew it was from that connection. And so that was my desire, was to just have more of that experience, more of that connection, right? To be able to control the trajectory of my life, to experience greater happiness, to control my mind, to be able to, optimize my potential, to become a better human being, to stay pure and innocent, and to, essentially be, I guess, the choice of God, whatever you want to say from like, a young girl's perspective. But what I found is that through, Yogananda and with the teachings from Jesus is that essentially there is this enlightened being, right? Someone who has this connection, this already established connection. And it's fine, whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it God or consciousness, ultimately it's just a category or a way of talking about something. That's why we've gone into the route of science, because we firmly believe that, you can use religion to describe something, you can use spirituality, and you can use science. And they're all the same thing, right? It's like, however you want to call a rose, it doesn't make it smell any less sweet or more sweet, right? Like that Shakespearean quote, right? The rose will still be sweet. The rose will still smell the same. So however way you want to describe it or talk about that true reality, that objective truth, it'll still be there and it'll still be the same. It's not going to change. And so that was essentially what propelled me, was to find a way to become closer to that truth, to that reality, and to find someone who could help get me there, because that's a huge gap. Like, it's not something that, no matter all the tools and things that everybody perpetuates and talks about, there isn't really something that I found that, made it seem like an easy transition to go from wherever I was now to God. That seems like a huge leap, a huge space. And so that's something I had the foundation of knowing from early childhood, that the enlightened, right, they had this divine embodiment where they could harness this consciousness, this universal energy, or this divine grace, whatever you want to call it again. And in doing so, they can connect you to that source, to that authority, to that consciousness, that pure consciousness. And that's what I wanted more than anything. So that was my life's mission and goal. Everything else was secondary. And in doing so, I maintained my innocence. My whole life was about staying innocent and pure and, just finding a way to connect. And that's it.